So, continuing on a little bit from the political commentary or aspects, in a way, how important or what role does language play in both your books, but specifically Orchestra?
Of Minorities. Well, I wrote an essay some time ago, which kind of went somewhat viral for an article that is not political necessarily. It's about language, and I declared myself a maximalist. I feel like if you go to creative writing schools, especially in America and to some extent I guess Britain, less is more is what everybody crows about. To tell you, don't write flowery prose, but the kind of writing that I loved as a child, most of which shaped me, have some grandiosity to them, and I always try to imbue my narrators with that kind of eloquence, and more so in this novel where you have a narrator who is not a human being, a narrator who has been existing for and coming and going for some 700 years. So it has a prelapsarian eloquence. It has, it has embodied this mass of vocabulary and words. So the use of language was really important in this novel. And also I wanted the narrator to have that natural cadence and authentic cadence of the Igbo language. So there's a lot of proverbs. So how were the people speaking? What was natural to them all over the southeast of Nigeria, Igbo, the Efik, Bibi, and all these places. Proverbs were, in fact, it wasn't possible for you to make a statement without really a complete statement without having a probability. It was a mark of mediocrity in some ways. So the language here is very elevated for that reason.
And also you use quite a lot of Igbo without directly translating it, and I liked it.
Yeah.
You still got the sense of what was going on, even if you don't understand Igbo, but it gave it, in my opinion, that authentic feel. And what was your thinking behind putting in so much Igbo?
So, in The Fisherman, the story was being told. There's a part there that I decided to remove later on, but it is subtle, it is suggested. The narrator was telling the story 20 years later, after everything has happened, and had moved out of Nigeria actually, and was telling it to, he has married, to a Canadian, and was telling the story to people there. So there was less of that, language, Nigerian language there. But here, given that this Chi knows English, knows everything, and is versatile and can go switch from language to language, I wanted to have as much of that in there as possible, especially when they are very important in seminal moments, when there's something specifically authentic to the Igbo imagination that was being said. I didn't want to have that translated.
And how important are Igbo traditions and beliefs in Orchestra? If you took them out, what would happen, do you think?
Oh, the book would be impossible. Yes. So I believe that there's something happening to us. It is, I have to say, people are leaving Nigeria, and as people are leaving, and even those who are there, who are left there, people are leaving Igbo land, they're leaving their homelands, they're going to the mega urban areas like Lagos. You've been to Lagos, right? Mm-hmm. Abuja and Kaduna and all that. As all that leaves, there is a kind of slow dying of the culture, of the heritage, of the language and all of that. And most people, my generation, even of my dad's generation, did not know what the Igbo society was like, what the world view was like. What did we think, for instance, about what was our form of government like? Was it that we had a king or the democratic system, you know? And I felt like they needed to know, you know. So I felt like the book, so it was also, aside from being a novel, it was a kind of exercise in documenting the civilization as it was. So for instance, I made a very interesting discovery a long time ago. So in 85% of Igbo communities in pre-colonial times, there was no such thing as a monarchical system. So the system of government was an egalitarian structure in which every clan or kindred, which was made up of blood related families, you know, appointed the oldest member of that family to go and represent them at the village council. So every village has what is called an ama. It's like the village council. If you go to every Igbo village, you see it. And so whether a man or a woman, the oldest person will believe that age is approximate with knowledge or with wisdom. So they went there, and that was how decisions were made. So the unanimous agreement that they had was what gave room to you know, the governing structures of the place. So that was why when the British came, generally what they did was they would go into a particular place and a village, and with their cannons, and the king or queen surrenders. But when they came to Igbo land, there was no palace to go to, so they had to create district commissioners and impose it on them, because, you know, to be able to rule them indirectly. So what I discovered was the reason, the rationale for that was because of the belief in the chi. So the Igbos believe that if every individual has a divine embodiment in them, and we are in some ways divine, then how should we create a hierarchical structure? You are a king, you are a god in yourself. I'm a god. Why should I rule over you? So they made everything equal. So, but we didn't know that. We thought that the democratic idea is Western, but it's not necessarily so. So this is one of the things I wanted to do. So even my dad, you know, who grew up in the village, did not know some of the things in the book. So you have a lot of culture there. So I hope that it will be in some ways a monument, you know, for something that people will pick up, and just like they pick up some Shakespeare or Milton, to be able to understand 16th century or middle age England.
Did you have to do a lot of research?
Absolutely, yeah. I did way too much than I should have.
So you didn't know as much about Igbo culture and tradition as you wish you had?
No, I didn't. It was, I like to say that I read probably almost everything that had been written about, at least the chi, the concept of the chi. If there's anything else that has been written that I didn't read, then, you know, whoever can find it. Yeah. But I actually was surprised by how much I knew already, yeah, during the process of research. But there are some things that I knew only superficially, of course, which just were deepened when I went to research. Yeah.